I'll have to ask you to move here. People that have yellow badges that are delegates, please sit here. The people coming in, you all have yellow badges. Delegates, please sit in this part of the room. Yeah. So delegates, please sit here. Yes, please. You can sit here. Have you been delegated to vote for somebody else as well, or just for yourself? Then you can sit here. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So I will keep repeating myself. Delegates with the right to vote, please sit here. If you have been nominated to vote for additional delegates, please sit on the far left. Pavel, you are a delegate. You need to sit here. Sorry. Delegates here, please. And I don't know, you have additional votes or not? Yes, then please sit on the far left if you have additional votes to cast, not just your own. Ladies and gentlemen outside, please come inside. Can I ask people that are not delegates to sit on the right side of the room? If you are not a delegate because you don't have voting rights, then please sit on the right. Thank you so much. Sorry. Delegates, please come and sit here. How many people are still outside? Okay, shoo them in. If you are a delegate, please sit here or here. If you are only an observer and not a delegate, sit over there. Delegates, please come and sit here in this part of the room. Please come and sit here in this part of the room. You too. Delegate, come here. Thank you. Delegates, please come and sit in this part of the room. Delegates, in this part of the room, please. In this part of the room. All the delegates in this part of the room, please. All delegates in this part of the room. If you are an observer and not a delegate, please sit on the right. Okay. I will keep repeating myself until we're all settled. Delegates, please sit in this part of the room. People that are only observing the vote, please sit on the right of the room. Okay. This is looking good, promising. Delegates, please sit on this part of the room. You are a delegate, young man. You are a delegate. Come and sit over here. So, delegates, please come and sit over here. So some of you know that I'm not just a moderator, I'm also an election observer. I observed the elections in Tajikistan, in Ukraine, in Northern Macedonia. And this is the first time I am actually conducting an election. So this is really exciting. But I know what the responsibility of an election observer is, right? So I'm handing that responsibility over to you. Watch carefully. Make sure we're doing this right. You guys, I'm counting on you to be good election observers. Okay, so if you are a delegate and you have a yellow badge, please sit down in this part of the room. If you have been mandated by some of your colleagues to vote not just for yourself, but for them, can you please move and to the far end here? If you have several votes, please move to the far end. It makes counting easier. Okay? Emin was sitting there. Yeah. Okay. Delegates, come and sit in this part of the... Come and sit over here. All delegates. If you need translation for this very important process, please get translation equipment. Can somebody say this in Russian, please? Can I get one of you to say what I just said in Russian? Because to say that if they need translation equipment, that they need, and because they don't speak enough English or they don't understand English, then...
Если кому-то нужен перевод на русский, есть специальные наушники, которых вы знаете, попросите о них.
Top. Okay. Right. So delegates, please have a seat in this part of the room. We would like to start the voting procedures swiftly. It's a very important moment. Everybody that is not voting and that only has observer status, please sit in this part of the room. If you are an observer and you have no voting rights, please sit in this part of the room. If you have voting rights, you can stay here. If you have more than your own voting rights, so several voting rights, please move to the far left. This is really bad for me. I'm really left and right, I confuse them. So having to think this way is doing my head in. Okay. I think we are all here, right? Can you sit down? No more seats. Can we get some additional seats for the ladies and gentlemen that don't have seats and have voting rights? Yeah, but I thought it was for you to count easier, that those are the ones that have more votes? Okay. Yeah, so those of you that are standing, please have a seat over here. Those of you, the delegates that are standing, please come and sit down. Okay. You are a delegate. Please find a seat over here. So, I want to welcome you to this plenary for the first time today, to this really very, very important moment. We will have Jala and Ottilia present the resolution to you that you have all been working on so hard in the last couple of days. Personally, I was observing you, and I thought it was impressive how concentrated and passionate and focused you were about writing up this resolution and making sure that all of you were able to participate in drawing it up. So, Anna Otilia, Jala, please present the main points of the resolution.
Thank you very much, Patricia, and it has been a great honor for me to work with all of you these 3 days. So we have put together a great resolution, I think, with all the contributions that we collected from working group meetings, from inter-working group meetings, and also from the national platforms. And I hope we can project it on the screen. So we go quickly through the final text, which has been finalized just a few minutes ago, so that we could put together as much as possible in a condensed way all the recommendations that have come from the past 3 days of intense work among all of us.
Can we just see if it can be projected? No, you don't. What's going on? Please talk to me. We can't project it, okay.
What could go wrong? What could go wrong?
Yes, so I think it has too many pages. You will just
yes.
have to.
Yes, the text is being distributed also to all the delegates. I'm just going, together with my colleague Shala, we are going to go through the text itself. It has 2 parts. One reflects the preamble. What are the current conditions in which we are? And the second part contains the recommendations that have been aggregated from our intense work these days. So, in the preamble, we talk about the risks and also the tremendous human suffering and the vital threat which is posed now by a resurgent and revisionist Russia. We are covering the full-scale war against Ukraine and the horrors that it entails, and we mention also the fact that Russia continues to occupy part of the territories of Georgia, controls part of Moldova in the so-called Transnistria, and uses the territory of Belarus for aggression against Ukraine. Mindful of the prolonged Nagorno-Karabakh conflict over the 3 decades, we we mentioned the need to eliminate the hate speech and discrimination as a precondition for peaceful coexistence in the region, finding peaceful and lasting solutions to regional disputes with guarantees of respect for territorial integrity, human rights, and safe, voluntary, and dignified return of all displaced population under the protection of international United Nations peacekeepers. We are noting also the dramatic deterioration of human rights in Belarus and the instrumental use of laws on combating extremism and terrorism in order to silence the opposition. We are also very concerned by the intensified crackdown on civil society organizations in Azerbaijan, where the government has significantly strengthened the repressions and intimidations against journalists, civic activists, and regular citizens. We are recalling the opinions issued by the Venice Commission of the Council of Europe regarding several recent laws that were introduced, such as the media law, the law on political parties, and the law on NGOs. We are recognizing also the threat that the expansion of authoritarianism is posing to EAP countries, undermining democracy. We are specifying our commitment to the joint commitment to democratic values as the fundament of our cooperation with the EU. We also acknowledge the diversity of ambitions within the Eastern Partnership region regarding the European integration, where countries have different paths. We are also welcoming the European Commission's recommendations a few days ago, included in the 2023 enlargement package, to open negotiations with Ukraine and Moldova and grant EU candidate status to Georgia. We are welcoming the European Parliament resolution on EU-Azerbaijan relations as of March 2023 concerning the intensified support for civil society and human rights defenders. We are also welcoming the European Parliament resolution on the case of Dr. Gubadi Badoglu as of September 2023, demanding his immediate and unconditional release, as well as the release of all other political prisoners. We are welcoming the continuation of the democratic reforms and European integration processes in Armenia, including the recent ratification of the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court. We also warn about the dangerous short and long-term consequences of Lukashenko's regime of isolating Belarus from international cooperation mechanisms, including its withdrawal from the Eastern Partnership. We also recall the shared values and objectives of the Eastern Partnership Initiative. We stress the importance of the regional cooperation within the Eastern Partnership framework, so regional as going beyond purely bilateral. We also remind that civil society is a driving force of reforms in the Eastern Partnership countries. We are deeply concerned about the growing threats to civil society in various EAP countries and in various forms. So not only in Azerbaijan, Belarus, but also the other members of the EAP. And we reconfirm our unwavering commitment to the fundamental principles of democracy, peace, human rights and gender equality, rule of law, environmental security and regional cooperation. And with this long preamble, we now move to the actionable recommendations that have been put together by all of us.
As delegates to the General Assembly of the Eastern Partnership Civil Society Forum, we call under the pack of recommendations for supporting Ukraine and addressing regional crisis. We call upon the governments of EU member states and EU to continue providing comprehensive support to Ukraine and dedicate additional efforts to ensure sufficient provision of military aid. We call upon the government of EU member states to provide gender-sensitive support for over 4 million Ukrainian refugees and IDPs and the civil society representatives fleeing death from the Russian war. We recommend to the EU Commission, to the European Commission to develop an emergency response mechanism to ensure fast and effective response to the crisis event. What I'm reading is a shortened version of the bigger and more detailed text, just for your information. Another pack goes for the Belarus, ensuring a strategic approach to Belarus. We urged the leadership of the EU and EU member states and EAP countries to provide staunch political support to Belarusian democratic civil society and make a clear distinction between civil society in Belarus and the Lukashenko dictatorship regime that has suspended the government's participation in Eastern Partnership. Ensuring comprehensive and efficient cooperation with the Azerbaijani civil society organizations, we urge the European Commission and the EU member states to establish a flexible and effective response mechanism to promptly address the current challenges that local CSOs and CSOs in exile face due to the over-restrictive environment in the country. The creation of an Azerbaijan International Implementers Meeting should be considered along the lines of the already existing and successful experience of the Belarusian International Implementing Meeting, among other mechanisms. Effectively supporting European integration and aspirations, we call on the EU, EAP, and EU member states government to ensure the continuation of the Eastern Partnership Initiative. We call on the upcoming European Council to open accession negotiations with Ukraine and Republic of Moldova and grant the EU candidate status to Georgia once all steps are completed. We call upon the European Union to intensify its dialogue with the Armenian government to facilitate further integration in light of Armenia's explicitly articulated European aspirations. We highly suggest the strengthening of programs to facilitate the exchange between civil society organizations from the EU, EAP, and Western Balkans, including through the Eastern Partnership Civil Society Forum. Ensuring a coherent foreign policy alignment, we urge EU member states and European Council to enhance the sanctions regime against Russia. We call upon the European Union to dedicate additional efforts to unblock the regional infrastructure in the EAP, with a particular focus on the Armenian-Turkish border, thus creating an opportunity for the diversification of the economy and reduction of Armenia's economic dependence on Russia. We vividly suggest that EAP countries and EU consolidate efforts to address Russia's hybrid attacks and combat misinformation and propaganda. To counter authoritarianism and promoting democratization, we strongly recommend the prioritization of actions to counter authoritarian tendencies among various EAP countries. We urge the EU member states and European institutions to call for the release of all political prisoners in Belarus and Azerbaijan, as well as prisoners of war across the EAP region. We call upon European authorities to support the efforts of the government of the Republic of Moldova to ensure the reintegration of the Transnistrian region, deeply concerned about the violation of human rights, including the rights of freedom of movement and freedom of expression. Supporting civil society and an enabling environment, we emphasize the obligation of the EAP governments to uphold the fundamental rights of their citizens, comply with international standards, and nurture or create an enabling environment for the civil society at local, national, and regional levels. We recommend accelerating the engagement of the EAP countries in Citizens, Equality, Rights and Values Program, the new flagship funding program for the civil society support. We urge the EU member states to increase financial and institutional support to the CSOs of Azerbaijan, making it adequate to the pressing needs of the country, similar to the support provided to the Belarusian civil society organizations. To provide the adequate assistance to refugees and IDPs, we call upon the governments of EU member states to provide support for refugees forced to leave Belarus for political reasons. We remind EU member states that also the importance of facilitation of the relocation of EAP citizens at risk of political persecution. We also call upon EU and EU member states and the donor community to provide the necessary assistance to Armenian refugees, with a particular focus on the need of conflict-affected women and girls. Cross-cutting priorities include a range of recommendations as the following. We urge EAP governments to strengthen measures to tackle gender-based violence. We encourage the EAP governments to further explore recent trends in small and medium enterprise digitalization and actively support digital and green transformations. We suggest that EU, Eastern Partnership, and EU member states consider the creation of a working group of environmental security for the EAP work plan. We strongly advocate for all involved parties to actively support educational programs and initiatives that focus on enhancing digital literacy. We encourage the expansion of initiatives that foster connections between youth, senior citizens, educational bodies, and cultural institutions. And we recommend the EU to bolster support for education and mobility programs within the EAP countries. As I said, that's a shortened version of the text. The full version you must have received to all your emails, so that's why I would like to give the floor to Patricia to facilitate the voting process.
Thank you so much, Jala and Ottilia. Thank you. So, exactly. I think impressive work. Now, I am quite positive that we have reached a quorum. Pascal, can you confirm? Please tell us the numbers.
Thank you. So we have 100 delegates in the room, and 10 delegates, according to our statutes, have dedicated their votes to fellow delegates who are present with us today. So we have 110 delegates out of 160 voting today. So the quorum is reached. In order to adopt the resolution, we need a majority plus one. So that would be 56 votes in favor of the resolution.
Wonderful, thank you. I think applause to you that you've all made it here. Well done. So, I'm just going to explain to you how to vote. So, in a minute, when Anna Ottilia will ask the formal question, you can, if you are for the resolution, please raise your badge. If you have several votes, please raise the badges of also the people you have the votes for. Just to confirm, the delegations that have been provided in written form, and I believe Pascal has verified that those people that have been delegated votes have the right to vote on behalf of other delegates. So, co-chair of the steering committee, Anna Ottilia, please ask the formal question to the Assembly.
Thank you very much, Patricia. Dear delegates of the General Assembly, do you endorse the resolution? Please vote now.
Just a little bit more. It looks very impressive from up here. I really have shivers all the way down my spine, seeing you all. I can see Pascal adding the numbers. We let him concentrate to see. Can the people take down their hands, Pascal? Wonderful, thank you. You can take down your hands. I mean, it's okay. So, Pascal, I think you have completed the counting. Please tell us whether the resolution is adopted.
So out of 110 delegates, 104 have approved the resolution. Therefore, the resolution is adopted.
Congratulations, dear colleagues. Thank you.
Yes, what a impressive outcome of your work. And I don't know if you remember, I said I wanted to leave with some hope. I was very sad when I came here 3 days ago, and this has really made my day. So thanks a lot for that. So I'm going to ask Dirk Schübel, Special Envoy to the Eastern Partnership of the European External Action Service, who is not here yet. He's coming. So I see this is, you're counting on me to entertain the people again until he comes? Is this the plan?
We can do the dance of victory.
The dance of victory. Okay. So, yes? Yes, tell me.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Why don't we do that? So, Małgorzata Watkiewicz-Pawlak, Eastern Partnership Ambassador from the Polish Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Please come upstairs. Ah, there's Dirk. Wonderful. I just announced you, but you weren't in the room yet. I was early. So, Anna Otilia will hand over the rest. Come over here, please.
I think you need this.
Anna Otilia will hand over formally the resolution to you.
Thank you very much. This is the resolution that has just been voted.
Thank you very much.
Oops, I hope I, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So it has been worked over the past 3 days through a great cooperative work, and it has been voted by 104 delegates out of 110 who have expressed their vote. So not only did we manage to have the quorum, but also an overwhelming majority. And yes, so we agreed both on the problems as well as on the solutions, and I hope this is a good start forward. Thank you.
Thank you. So, a round of applause. Thank you. So maybe I can ask you to sit for a second, wherever you like, whatever is convenient for you. So I know, yes, please, come. So I know, Małgorzata, you need to go to the airport, but maybe I can start with you. Can you maybe just quickly share your initial thoughts on the resolution? And I'm going to follow up.
I think it worked.
Yeah. Your initial thoughts on the resolution, and I think you have also prepared maybe some thoughts on the concrete ideas of implementing it already. So please.
Yes, so first of all, congratulations to all of you for having prepared and then accepted such a comprehensive resolution which really touches all the aspects of the Eastern Partnership and the cooperation in your countries. This is your work, so I am very happy to be here and to congratulate it on behalf of Polish Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Which is also a good sign is that I was preparing some notes and comments on the text, and I was asking colleagues from the secretariat since yesterday, could I see the draft? And well, they were all repeating that the draft is still, the drafting is still going on, which is a good sign because it means that you are really full of ideas and proposals. So, and finally, the final text really reflects this. And also, what is important, and I want to mention here that you, as the civil society, you are allowed to say more and more openly than we diplomats. We have to keep sometimes our own opinions or ideas to ourselves, but it's very good that the civil society organizations are here and they are speaking also on our behalf. Of course, it's never enough repeating and reminding of our core values, which were at the heart of the creation of the European Union and later the Eastern Partnership policy. And all these fundamental values and important issues are reflected in the text of the resolution. Of course, there are many worrying developments, authoritarianism growing in some countries, the tremendous number of the political prisoners, unprecedented and very sad and difficult situation of those people and their families. And then I would like also to express my respect for the representatives of civil societies who are still active in those countries, especially when it's not just the question that you might receive some unpleasant words, but you can end up in a prison. But fortunately, there are also positive developments in the region, like the recent enlargement report and hopefully the positive decision of the European Council in December. We keep our fingers crossed. And also the shift of the foreign policy of Armenia, and hopefully we will also work more and more closely with Armenia on the implementation of the CEPA and maybe also later on some other agreements. And therefore, there is also more responsibility on the civil society organizations to monitor the government's actions and implementation of the policy in those countries, especially in the countries where the tendencies of the government might seem a little bit more ambiguous and not always clearly and obvious. Well, I really believe that the recommendations of the resolution should be taken into account and analyzed by us, the member states, but also by the European institutions ahead of preparing the deliverables for the incoming ministerial meeting. So I hope that it will be done, and I am also sure that you will share the recommendations also with colleagues. And what I kept up, because I do not want to take too much of your time, but I think that especially important is, of course, to keep the continued support for Ukraine in the fight against Russia. I am looking here at my colleague who came last year, who was receiving the award last year and who is always with us. Also elaborating the strategy for free democratic forces and cooperation with Belarus. This is something which we keep repeating during our meetings, and this is really something very necessary. Also, I picked up, and I think it's important to strengthen support and cooperation with the civil society organization from Azerbaijan, who really need our support, and we know that. It's very important to fight together, to gather our forces to fight the Russian propaganda and disinformation, because as we know, as it was very beautifully described in the resolution, the long and uncertain shadow of Russia is all over the region and also over the European Union. And it's also important to fight the gender-based violence in different countries, and to support discriminated groups, minorities, those people who do not have the force to defend themselves. And just last thing I would like to, which attracted my attention, was the importance to concentrate on young generation and on education, especially in the media literacy and critical thinking, because in the new era with, the huge amount of disinformation and different opinions from different sources, this is really something which is very, very important. So these are my initial thoughts. Thank you very much, and once again, congratulations.
Thank you so much, Małgorzata, and it sounds as if you really have a to-do list for your presidency, and you're very ready to embark on many of the things that are in the resolution. I think that's really great. Dirk, it's a comprehensive resolution. So how do you feel about it?
That's the least one can say. I would say, good afternoon, dear friends. Happy to be back. I was in my office in between, but I got the resolution on time, and I had a very close look. Frankly, that's impressive. It reads like council conclusions almost of the Foreign Affairs Council. And I think they're not so different, to be honest. The content is not so different, which is all the more better because it comes from you, comes from civil society. That shows that we are largely on one page. That's the first thing to say. And that's also what I will take back from these 2.5 days here, that, I think we're getting closer. And that is, I think, very good. But, of course, there has to be a little bit of distance because you are our watchdogs. So and the watchdogs in your countries, of course, of what we're doing. So, very pleased with this very comprehensive paper. All in, I would say, a clear sign that the civil society from across the Eastern Partnership region is standing together and that you make your voices heard. That is very important. Some clear messages and a considerable homework for us in the institutions and in the governments of the Eastern Partnership partners. As well as in the EU member states. And for us as EU institutions, it's not only during presidency times that we are busy, we are all the time presidency, so to speak, and we'll have to work on this. We will study the details of the resolution, and we'll make sure that also it is distributed to the relevant colleagues in the bilateral relations departments and in the Commission, of course, as well. A few more in detail. On Ukraine, I think that's, as always, the most important part these years. It is important to see the resolute condemnation of Russia's war of aggression and that we stand together on this. As I said yesterday, the support to Ukraine remains the priority number 1, maybe 2 and 3 as well. It is of utmost importance because it has an influence on everything else, on all the other countries, on us in the European Union and on the world. On Eastern Partnership in general, a word. I read in the resolution we should ensure the continuation of the Eastern Partnership Initiative. That's good. And here I can be very clear. Also, during yesterday's senior officials meeting that we had yesterday via video conference, while you were working and sitting here, I can tell you that there was a clear confirmation that the Eastern Partnership continues to be a very important framework for the cooperation of all partners, inclusively also the trio that aims for more, namely for membership in the European Union. So with my dear colleague Margojata announcing the wish also to host the next summit of the Eastern Partnership in 2025, I think we have already a very clear work plan ahead until that time. And I'm convinced that the Eastern Partnership will continue to bring benefits to us for the years to come. That is quite sure. Now on civil society support. I welcome the very clear messages on promoting a conducive environment for civil society. That is very important, and I think also through our presence we have demonstrated to you that you are incredibly important to us, and that I can only support your call on the governments of all EU member states and on the EU institutions on this point. As the High Representative said in his video message, rest assured the EU will remain your close partner. I think that is the word of the day. It should be my ending words, but I have still some things to say. So I also welcome some concrete suggestions in the resolution, such as to look how we can facilitate exchanges with civil society from the EU and also from the Western Balkans. We will definitely look into this. Then on other specifics, Belarus. Well, you know, that's still dear to my heart. It was my last posting. And it didn't end well, but it was not my fault, on the contrary. And having been in Belarus for a couple of years, I'm pleased to see also many familiar faces here. That's very good. It is so important for us to keep in close touch, and I appreciate in particular Irina Suchi attending the senior officials meeting yesterday and to give a very strong message about Belarus. We will continue to support the Belarusian civil society and the Belarusian democratic forces. I fully share your wish to see the country's progression towards a democratic country, and I can assure that we will do our utmost that we achieve this point in rather sooner than later. And obviously also on this I will share your concrete suggestions on Belarus to my colleagues. A few other points that I was happy to see. First of all, I was pleased to see your call for action to tackle gender-based violence. This remains a big challenge, in particular in the Eastern Partnership countries, and it's so important to address this. We could reflect how to include this subject perhaps also in the work of the relevant Eastern Partnership Working Group on gender. That might be a good idea. Good to see some countries ratifying the Istanbul Convention, but it's of course the implementation that will remain key, not only the ratification of the legal document. Again, here I count on you as civil society to help your governments, maybe to push them here and there where it's needed. We as EU in Brussels stand of course ready to help, and I'm sure many member states as well. Also beyond gender-based violence, we all need to do more to ensure gender equality. So let me also invite you to think about how we can further this work across the board. How can we mainstream it? It is still not a given, unfortunately. So I will not talk more on each of the countries. We will study the resolution in all detail. There's something on each of the Eastern Partnership countries. I mentioned only a few, but we will. As I said, it reads like some council conclusions, which usually include a lot of work for us, these council conclusions, as officials in the EU institutions. These ones as well, but these are positive and recommendations that we will certainly study very carefully and will take on board as much as we can. Let me conclude by thanking you for having had this very substantial meeting. It was the discussions I was able to take part in were really of quite some detail. It showed that you are in the topic very much, that you are, by the way, it reminds me of the, Christina sitting over there, of Stockholm last in June, where we had a real brainstorming on Eastern Partnership. Many of you were present there. Amazing discussion where I had the impression that sometimes you know more than we know about the Eastern Partnership. And that is very encouraging because it is you who are shaping the Eastern Partnership together with us, the officials and governments. So once again, congratulations on a very successful event, also to the Secretariat and to the steering committee. I felt very at home here, and I look forward already to the next event and happy to follow your invitation if you like to have me at one of the events. Congratulations.
Thank you. Okay. I think you need to run, right?
Yes, exactly. So I will just take this opportunity to thank you all once again for those 3 days of fantastic discussions and atmosphere. And, well, I'm already looking forward to next year's, and I wish you a nice ending and hope to see you on different occasions. Also, welcome to Warsaw whenever you come, please. Thank you. I cannot shake hands with you individually, but just thank you once again, and
thank you so
bye-bye.
much.
Bye, dear.
It's lovely to meet you. Maybe, Dirk, just before we really close, if you had, I mean, the resolution is addressed to the EU institutions and the member states, and of course, there's a lot there that needs to be done. But if you also had a wish or request to civil society, what would that be?
Well, I think the general request is that civil society in Ukraine can contribute to peace. That is, I think, the most important thing that everybody needs. But otherwise, I would hope, you know, I will tell you, I was in April with my group of special envoys, Christina was with us and Margojata as well, in Moldova. And I don't want to single out one country particularly, but we asked civil society, the members that we met of civil society there, what rank they would give, what mark they would give the government, and from 1 to 5, and the civil society gave mark 4, those we met, to the government, which is a remarkable mark, I think, for civil society to give to government. I'm not sure whether there's any other country here who would give, where civil society would give mark 4 out of 5 to their government.
5 being the best.
5 being the best. 5 being the best. Sorry. I think I would wish that many more civil societies in the Eastern Partnership countries, and for that matter, probably also in the EU member states, would be able to give mark 4 out of 5 to their governments. That shows that we have become much closer and that we are achieving the objectives that we have set. And for that, I wish you all good luck and perseverance in being the watchdogs, as I said, of your respective governments.
Thank you so much, Dirk. So before we close and I hand over for the last words to Anna Ottilia Nutu, I want to also thank you very much. It was, again, an amazing pleasure to be with you, to talk to you, to be your event host. It's a real honor for me. And again, I learned so much from you. And again, I am going home tonight with a lighter heart than the one I came with. So thank you very, very much for the opportunity again to be with you. And I hope we will see each other again next year. Anna Ottilia.
Thank you, Patricia. And I just wanted to communicate to Dirk also the fact that we adopted today this resolution is also a sort of commitment on our part. That all the members who have contributed, the delegates who have contributed to the text of this resolution will continue their advocacy on these precise topics. And as we've seen in the past 3 days, there is a very high intensity of preferences and a lot of passion put in this work. And with that, I would also like to thank to all participants to this conference, delegates, members, observers, speakers, translators, Patricia, who was a very good moderator of the entire event, and also to the colleagues from the Secretariat who have made this possible in impossible conditions. And of course, I would like to thank to my colleagues from the steering committee who have put their hearts very much into making this event work, but also the work of the Eastern Partnership civil society work. Thank you.
Yes. So I think we can go.
Free.
Yes. Enjoy your evening in
Enjoy
Brussels.
your evenings.
Safe trips home.